Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade 2 years ago and passed the decision onto the states, a record number of abortion bans and restrictions have been introduced and passed across the country. Now, with me is Norbese Flint, Vice President of Strategy, All Above All, and is joining us to talk about the impact of what has changed since that pivotal Supreme Court decision almost a couple of years ago. So, Norbese, great to have you here. Tell me about the landscape of abortion. What has changed since we saw that Supreme Court overturn of Roe v. Wade?
Yeah, it's been devastating. It's been devastating to communities. Every day, people are waking up and not being able to have the abortion care that they need and deserve. In brass tacks, what that means is there's 20 states that has either banned or restricted abortion access. A lot of those in the South, where a lot of Black and Brown people live.
Hmm. Now, there's something called the Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine versus the FDA, and that is a case that is currently before the Supreme Court. As I understand it, that could roll back access to medication abortion nationwide. Explain the implications of that.
Yeah, so this is an incredibly important case. It's a case that should have never made it to Supreme Court and shows how the Supreme Court has been politicized. But what it does, it can act, depending on the decision, it can actually ban medication abortion across the country. So that's not only for abortion or states that have bans of abortion, it means all 50 states.
Okay. And then there's also the Abortion Justice Act. Explain what that is. What would that do?
So that's bold legislation that was created by or introduced by Ayanna Pressley and her colleagues in the House, and it pushes forward abortion access. And it does that in a couple of ways. It looks at how to protect patient, providers, and people from criminalization. It addresses systemic barriers. It looks at how to make sure abortion is covered by insurance, as well as investments from the federal level in both innovation, outreach, training, and research on abortion access.
And of course, the Hyde Amendment that's been around, been debated, for a long time. What is the impact of that plus other restrictions on communities with people of color and people that are working to make ends meet?
Yeah, so the Hyde Amendment has been around for decades, and what it does is that if you get your insurance from the federal government, so everybody like the military, Medicaid, Indigenous people, federal employees, that your insurance coverage does not carry abortion. So that means that people at the margins, the folks who are struggling to make ends meet are the ones are impacted. They're usually the ones on Medicaid, and those are the folks that can be pushed further into poverty.
And then what does your group suggest in terms of lawmakers, regulators, in terms of ensuring abortion access?
Yeah, it's a pivotal year. 2024 is a pivotal year for abortion access. And so we want our lawmakers to sign on, if you're at the federal level, to push the Abortion Justice Act forward. But we also want to hear what they're doing about abortion access in our communities and what's their platform on it.
And how can somebody find out more about your group and then just the various legislation that is taking place at all the different levels right now?
Yeah, so please come check us out at allaboveall.org online. And you can find us also on Instagram and X at allabovall.
Okay. Norbese, thank you so much for updating us on what you're doing, and we will continue to follow this story. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for covering this important topic.